Because we used a parent constraint, when we look at all of these controls, they will do some pretty goofy things with translate and some slightly more sensible things with rotate. As the rigger, you get to make a decision here, because first, the parent constraint does not account for scaling. Yes, you can go through, and in the constraint menu there is a scalar constraint that you can add to make all of your controls allow the user to scale the joints. I generally don't recommend scaling joints. It does some really weird things to the other joints around the joint you just scaled. But go ahead and try it and see if you like it. If you don't, what you want to do is you want to select your controls, and you'll note that I'm selecting them individually here because when I look in the outliner there are two shades of blue. Bright blue means that this control is actually selected, and dark blue means that it's not. So if, for example, I select the root control, out here in the viewport it looks like all of the controls are selected, but over here in the outliner I can see that only the root control is selected. So right now I know that all of my controls use parent constraints, all of them will translate, all of them will rotate, none of them will scale. If I select all of the controls so that they all turn bright blue, over in the channel box I can take my scale controls and I can right click and lock and hide. If there are any that you don't want to translate, let's take one of the arms. We'll just take these three and say I don't want these to translate. I don't think that this arm should do that. I mean, it might be fun. It's up to you. You get to decide. But if I don't want this arm to translate, I can take these translate controls, right click, and lock and hide selected, and traditionally along the upper body most people don't really translate their spines. Just saying. So a lot of riggers will prevent people from taking any of these controls and accessing translate. So we'll just lock and hide all of those. If you ever decide that you've locked and hidden something that you want back, you can go into the edit menu of the channel box. There's a window called channel control, and in the channel control window I get these three lovely columns: keyable, non-keyable hidden, non-keyable displayed. I can find my translate channels. If I scroll all the way down, there's translate X, Y, and Z. And the weird thing is that if I look at the bottom, there's a move with two arrows pointing this way. This move button will move from the middle column into the third column, which I don't want. This move button has an arrow pointing this way. It will move from the middle column into the first column, which I do want, so I'll go ahead and move those. That puts them back into the channel box where I can take them and unlock. Or if I'm still in the channel control window, I can go to this locked tab, grab my translates, and shift over to non-locked. So I'm going to leave it up to you. I generally lock all of my translates for everything except for this root control. The root control is going to need to translate. We'll get to that when we do the lower body. But all these things up here, they really don't need to translate. It just kind of looks weird. So go ahead and lock those if you don't want them. Keep them open if you do. Think about your scale options. Yes, maybe scale is good. Yes. So the very last thing I'm going to do for the upper body controls is I'm going to set up a really easy system so that I can color code this skeleton a little bit. What I'm going to do is make 3 layers, and I'll just make them blank for now. We will call these center, and I'm going to make center this bright yellow color and say save. Then I'm going to have one that I call right, and right I'm going to make this bright red color right there. And then I'm going to have left, and left is going to be this bright blue color. So let's take the left arm, all 4 controls, right click and add selected. That's going to turn them bright blue. Then I will take the right side curves, add them to the right layer, and then I will grab the spine curves and right click and add them to the center layer, and now I should have this very brightly colored rig that will tell everybody very quickly and easily that this is the left side because it's blue, this is the right side because it's red, and this is the middle, it's yellow. These are very standard riggers that these are very standard colors that riggers work with, so try to keep within this color palette. A lot of the colors in the layer menu, because they're indexed colors, are used in other things. This pink, for example, is widely used throughout the program. This green is the color of selected objects, so be really careful with the colors you pick and try to stick as much as you can with this bright yellow, bright red, and bright blue. Okay, so that is it. That is my entire upper body done. So when I get back, I will tackle the lower body.